The rain tapped softly against the window as I sat in my room, staring at my unfinished essay. My mind felt heavy, like a storm brewing inside me. Ever since my mom remarried, things hadn't been the same. Our house in North London, once calm and familiar, now felt crowded and strange. I loved my mom truly, but blending families was far harder than I ever imagined. James, my stepbrother, barely spoke to me. He was a year older, quiet, serious, and always kept to himself. I couldn't tell if he stayed distant on purpose or just didn't know how to talk to me. Either way, we avoided each other. It was an unspoken agreement. That evening, I sat cross-legged on my bed, headphones in, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. My little brother was fussing in the next room, and my parents were out running errands. I felt restless, like I didn't belong. A sudden knock at my door made me jump. Before I could answer, James pushed it open slightly and stepped in. "Hey," he said, his voice low and calm. He held a book in his hand, one of mine. "You left this in the kitchen," he added, placing it gently on my desk. "Oh, thanks," I muttered. I expected him to leave like always. But instead he lingered. "You all right?" he asked, his gaze drifting from me to the clutter on my desk. "I'm fine," I lied. "You sure?" he pressed, his tone softer this time. "You've seemed off lately." I hesitated. "It's just, I don't know. Everything's different now. This house, this family. I feel like I'm stuck in someone else's life." James shifted his weight, stuffing his hands into his pockets. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I get that." I looked up surprised. "I know it's weird," he continued. "It's not easy for me either. I didn't want to mess things up, so I figured staying out of the way was the best option." I let out a dry laugh. "I thought you just didn't like me." He gave a faint smile. "Nah, you're all right." For the first time, the tension between us didn't feel so heavy. "You know," James said, glancing at me, "it's okay to feel lost sometimes. Doesn't mean things can't get better." I didn't know why, but those words stuck with me. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't completely alone. "Thanks," I said softly. He gave a small nod and turned to leave. Just before closing the door, he added, "If you ever need to talk, you know where to find me." As the door clicked shut, a strange warmth settled in my chest. Maybe this whole family thing wasn't so impossible after all. The next day felt different. James's words lingered in my mind. At breakfast, when I saw him, he gave me a small nod. I returned it. It was simple, but it felt like progress. Later that evening, I sat in my room again, trying to focus on my notes. My little brother's giggles echoed from the hallway, followed by James's voice. He had a way of calming him down, something I'd always noticed but never acknowledged. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps outside my door. Creaked open slightly. "Hey, you busy?" James asked. "Not really," I said, closing my textbook. He stepped inside holding a mug of tea. "Thought you might need this." Smiled. "Thanks." He lingered again. This time I gestured toward the chair by my desk. He hesitated, then sat down slowly. "You okay?" he asked. He let out a sigh, tapping his fingers on the armrest. "I don't know. I guess I just feel like I'm trying too hard sometimes." "What do you mean?" "Fitting in here," he said. "It's like I'm part of the family, but not really." He nodded. "Yeah, I know that feeling." We sat in silence for a moment. But it wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. "I remember when my mom married your dad," James said quietly. "I kept telling myself I'd stay out of the way, so things wouldn't get messy." He paused. "But I guess I ended up making things harder." I shook my head. "You didn't. I mean, I never really tried either." He gave a small smile. "Guess we're both bad at this sibling thing." We laughed. And this time it felt easy. "If you're tired of hiding in your room all the time," I said, "you can always hang out here." He looked surprised but nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." Before he left, he turned back and said, "And if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." His words stayed with me. That night, the house was unusually quiet. Mom and Dad went out for dinner, leaving James and me in charge of our little brother. I curled up on the couch with a book, enjoying the peace. A sharp cough echoed from upstairs. I dropped the book and rushed to my brother's room. He sat upright in bed, pale and flushed, his breathing rough and eyes glassy. "Are you okay?" I asked, pressing my hand to his forehead. He was burning up. Panic rose in my chest. I grabbed my phone to call Mom. No signal. I tried Dad. Nothing. "What's wrong?" James appeared behind me. "It's him. I think he's really sick." James stepped in, calm despite the situation. He knelt by the bed and checked his temperature. "He's got a fever. We need to cool him down." "I don't know what to do," I admitted, voice trembling. "I'll get wet towels," James said, already heading downstairs. Moments later, he returned with a cloth and a glass of water. "Here," he said, placing the cloth on our brother's forehead. "Help me sit him up." We gently propped him up. James coaxed him to sip water, his voice steady and soothing. "You're all right, buddy," he whispered. "I've got you." I sat beside them, feeling helpless, but grateful James was there. Slowly, our brother's breathing eased. He looked calmer though still warm. James stayed with him, adjusting the cloth and murmuring soft reassurances. I couldn't stop watching him. The way he moved, the care in his actions, it was different. "You're good at this," I said quietly. James shrugged. "I used to help Mom when she got sick. Just kind of figured it out." And suddenly I saw him differently. He wasn't distant because he didn't care. He was careful, maybe even scared to step too far. When our brother finally fell asleep, James let out a long breath. "You should rest," I whispered. He shook his head. "I'll stay a bit longer." I didn't argue. I grabbed a blanket and draped it over his shoulders. "Thanks," he murmured. For the first time, we weren't just two strangers under one roof. We were a team. Family. The morning sun streamed through the window. I woke to the sound of soft murmurs. Walking down the hallway, I found James still sitting by the bed, eyes heavy with sleep. "He's okay now," he said quietly. "Fever broke a couple of hours ago." Relief hit me hard. "You should get some sleep." He smiled faintly. "I'm good." Later that day, when our parents returned, they were frantic. Mom hugged James tightly, eyes shining with gratitude. For once, I saw how much James had taken on, and how little we had acknowledged it. That evening, I found him on the back porch, sipping tea in the cool air. I joined him without saying a word. The sky was streaked in gold and lavender. "I don't know how you kept it together last night," I said eventually. He smiled faintly. "Didn't really have a choice. You didn't have to do all that. But you did. I'm glad you were here." He turned to me thoughtful. "I didn't think I'd ever feel like I belonged here. But last night something changed." He nodded. "I get that. For so long we'd both stayed behind walls, unsure of our place. But through the chaos we'd found something real, trust. Maybe even a kind of friendship. Maybe we're not so bad at this whole family thing after all," I said with a grin. James laughed softly. "Yeah, maybe." There was no awkwardness now. Just quiet comfort. As I stood to go inside, I turned back. "If you ever need someone to talk to, you know where to find me." He smiled. "Yeah, same here." And somehow that felt like enough.